Welcome everyone to another episode of TT&W. Today we're going to be discussing the topic of becoming, and the reason we chose this topic is because we've all been interested in Michelle Obama's recent book that just came out a couple weeks ago, and we just started thinking about and talking about what that, first of all, that word means to us, and we're going to be talking kind of more personal and giving you a little more insight into our own journeys.
It's actually a really tough question.
It took some thinking, I think, in the beginning. We all kind of had to do some research.
And I think I remember when listening to the podcast where Michelle and Oprah were speaking, she had a lot of different chapters in her life. It was becoming a wife, becoming, a lawyer, becoming a mother. So I have to think about what stage I'm in, like what am I becoming. I think for me, I came to the realization that becoming for me is a process of self-awareness and being authentic. When I was younger, I feel like I used to think that, I was confident and sure of myself. I knew who I was. But as I look back now, I think I was just like a summation of people who I loved, projections of me. I was who my parents wanted me to be, who my dad wanted me to be. I chose the career my parents thought was best. I was who my community thought represented Sana. And so I think becoming has also been a process of unlearning.
Unlearning.
And I think for me, I'm a science dweeb, so in learning that everything that you do now affects you in the future. Genetically, literally your DNA becomes modified by the food that you eat, how much you exercise, how you deal with stress, and all of these things actually modify your DNA. So for me to be a product of what people thought of me and not who I actually was, not only was affecting me in the now, but I'm responsible for generations, inshallah, one day ahead. So it was a process for me to be no, I need to figure out what is it that I want.
So what was that process of unlearning? How did you get there mentally?
I think it was a lot of self-reflection. Even small things. This is what society perceives a black woman to look and dress like or whatever. I have to stop and be okay, well, what is it that I want to look like? What is it that I want to dress like? What is it? A lot of self-reflection, writing, being honest with myself. Because even in that process, I started to realize what my flaws are. And I am a flawed human being, and it was accepting that as part of being authentically myself as well. I have to accept the good with the bad. I can acknowledge it and say, you know what, I need to work on it. And it was also practicing listening to my gut. We all have gut.
Our voice.
Gut feelings.
How do you know to trust it or not? Because sometimes I feel how do you differentiate between your gut instinct and fear? Because sometimes fear is just
that's true.
It's irrational.
I think it's a conscious, subconscious. Our subconscious is something that is always there, that we're absorbing so much from the world around us. And it was really important that you pointed out that we're like sponges when we're young, right? So in your DNA and who you are, it's that nature versus nurture argument. I think it's a lot more nurture who we become. And I know that because I was the first in my family to go to school, and I kind of felt very alone in doing that. When we first moved here, I was 7, thrown into second grade, and I really didn't have that chance to sit at home. My siblings were at home more, and they were kind of coddled, where I was thrown into the school system, not knowing anything. And I spent, I think, the first 3 years pretty much just observing and watching people and picking up the cues and how I should act, what I should say. And there was a moment, I didn't know I had thoughts of my own. Everything was just reactionary. And I didn't get comfortable to probably 6th or 7th grade, where I started to say things my own thoughts, my own ideas. Because I was kind of stuck in this in my head, literally not knowing the language, not knowing what's normal, what's not normal. And for me, it kind of felt like a late bloomer most of my life, where it took me so long to realize that I've been who I am the whole time. It's just about taking that layer off of, comes from fear, comes from expectation, all the things I think we've all dealt with.
That's an important point, because there's an argument, this book that I read, talks about most people say you are a product of your environment, but in the book it was actually saying we are a product of our expectations of us. And that's a very key point, because it was differentiating between two people who came from the same city, had the same upbringing, but went in two different trajectories. And it was because one of them, their family supported them, had high expectations of them, and wanted them to be something, whereas the other, he was born into life and set up for failure, essentially. Nobody expected
I don't even think it's just like your family. I think sometimes you have something in you. I think despite your environment, despite your upbringing, like you're born with something in you. I think that is already going to determine like what you're going to be in the future.
But my expectations for myself are a lot harsher than what others expect of me.
Even within your own household, maybe
within
there's
my own
differences in
household,
the way you make
and
decisions.
I even build up what I think others will expect of me when it's really like not what they would expect, and it's kind of like
A lot of pressure on you.
yeah, it does. Like, and that's something that I struggle with, because I just find myself like kind of overthinking and in this like churning in my head all the time. And it's just like
I feel like that's twofold. Like, in a way, that kind of mentality pushes you to have your own goals and ambitions and things like that. But it could also have a negative impact on your psyche of like, what do I actually want to do?
Yeah.
But I found like when it came to college time and things like that, I was doing other things for other people. Like, I wasn't making any decisions for myself. So a part of becoming for me was taking the time to be like, what do I actually want to do? Like, a part of that unlearning was making decisions for myself. Like, okay, you're supposed to graduate high school, get into college, finish your degree, and then what? It's like in the middle of that, taking a break and being like, I need to actually make a decision of what I want to do, and not just.
And that's brave to take a break.
And and not
the
just
whole around you is moving.
Like, I feel like from the outside, people are like, that's brave, but that's so scary. Like, what are you doing? You know?
And not only, it's also, I don't know for you, but for me, it would also be fear of judgment. Fear of how I'm perceived.
Because there's an expectation that the world has of you. And like, one of the things that Michelle was saying is like, she didn't want to be one of the bad kids.
Right.
She was saying like, I didn't want to be known as the other kid. And that's kind of what we have as well. I don't want to be known as just another like black girl who's not doing this, or just another Sudani girl.
Why are we so hard on what people think?
But it's hard to not be. And I think a part of taking the time.
It's cultural. Because within like the immigrant cultural context, a lot of it is community based. Oh,
like,
what
you
is
can't
this?
mess up what
And
they're
then
doing,
and you have to unlearn that.
That's a part of the
You have to
unlearning.
unlearn that really early. I mean, it's a big process, but I feel like all of us had to unlearn that, especially during college, because it's just something within our community. Oh, this person's doing this. What are you doing?
Do you know?
What
I
are
think
you
I'm
doing?
struggling with that now. I think like with my right out of college, I started working for like an activist group, and I got like a really positive response for that, right? Like in people's eyes, I was like saving the world, right? But I was working for an organization, so I think like when I chose to leave and then to go to like the corporate world, obviously I think people's perception of me has changed, but I think it has like put more pressure on myself to not care what people think about me, and to like decide what do I actually care about, what issues I'm actually passionate about, and then I can do it for myself. It's not about like what other people think about me anymore. Like, I'm just doing me right now.
And I think that's so important to kind of be able to have those like struggles and those pressure moments, because those are the ones that build within you like, okay, I need to let go of certain things. So I feel like I struggle with that because I'm such like an over planner, and I tend to like get really meticulous about like the way that I envisioned my life to be. And after college is when I was like, okay, things are not going the way that I thought they would be going, or this plan that I had, the checkbox. And so it really, then at that point, you kind of have to step back, and I was kind of forced into it by circumstances to be like, okay, relax, take it easy, let go. And some of the things that will happen in your life will be better than the things that you planned.
In fact, what was a moment for you that kind of like you had to let go, and then it pushed you, like it was hard at first, but you were like, you're glad you did it?
There's a couple moments. I feel like I push myself to do certain things just like to do it. Like I'm like I've been struggling with this for so long, so let me just do this. I feel like one of those points were after college, where I was like, what am I going to do next, this and that, and I kind of just forced myself to take a job, and I was just like, okay, let's see where this goes. Ended up being something I'm passionate about. Then after working for a couple years, I was like, I've been thinking about grad school. What do I want to do? I forced myself to like go abroad. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna leave everything I've ever known for a year and go away.
I'm too comfortable.
I'm too comfortable, and that's something that I do within myself. Whenever I'm too comfortable, I'm like, no, it's time to go. If I'm not like having that kind of buzz, that hum that Shonda Rhimes talks about, then I'm like, this time for me to
that's
take
really interesting
new.
because you're saying you're a planner, but it's weird. It also sounds like you're
it's a duality that I struggle with.
You're like,
within
for the
myself.
moment, let me go switch things up.
But the funny thing is, I plan that though, right?
You plan to be spontaneous.
So I plan. no, it's funny, but you know, I actually before I went to London, I was thinking about it 4 years ago.
You take your time.
4 years before.
Right. You do research.
I did
you
my
thought about
research.
it. You do the steps you have to take.
It was I do calculate.
It seems for us like a spontaneous decision, maybe on the
I've
outside.
literally been thinking about it for 4 years. But the spontaneity came that I was just like, yeah, just do it. Yeah. Like, stop overthinking shit and just do it.
Yeah.
It's so funny though, because when you're talking about this, I do feel like there has to have, like, you have to have some sort of privilege to be able to do this.
Of course, definitely.
Because there are people who their closest, their family members, the closest people to them are the ones that give them the most trouble, or the ones that are the most difficult to overcome, because they're meeting their ambitions and their phases of becoming with continuous animosity, with just negativity, or
that's your nurture right there. It's like if you're not nurtured, like if your parents didn't support it, if they didn't push you, also if your siblings didn't do that, would you have done it? I mean, I think it's a little bit.
That's a hard question to answer.
Even for you to have the ability to dream big, I think it does depend on your family.
Exactly.
Them being open-minded about it
because you just said too that you care a lot about what your family thinks, and you do want to meet their expectations.
Within myself, like, I build in so much of, my God, okay, look at what they've sacrificed. Because I feel like, especially being a child of immigrants, you carry a lot of that weight of, okay, we came to this country for you to have opportunities. Okay, now what am I doing with those opportunities? And it becomes like it's a lot.
Burdens.
Like, the beauty of everybody that I have in my life right now, everybody has struggled, and there's so much to learn from that. Like the happy, the sad, and the in-betweens of that is where you find, like, people are learning and growing and living and experiencing emotions. Like, perfection is just stupid.
I think that's why we picked this topic, and the power, like, how powerful is it that the first African American first lady made a book about her own struggles, where everyone saw her either as loved her to death, she's perfect, or hates her and wants to call her mean things. She talked about all of it, and I just thought, for me, that inspired me, because I'm like, wow, if she can do it, if she can talk about her own struggles, and she wants people like us to know that we don't have to be perfect. We didn't have to figure it out or know it all along. Like, when she quit being a lawyer, like, that blew my mind. We had just knowing that I've been through that. I had to quit a job that I didn't want to be in, and that took me. It took a lot of work to get to that point to be able to do that.
I think leaders like Michelle Obama, people who are like not afraid to say that they're vulnerable or like they've messed up, like they help me so much, like with my personal growth. Like, I don't look up to leaders who come off to be so perfect and like put together. I look up to the ones who are like scared to death, but like they still do what they want to do, or they do it and they failed a million times. Like those are my real role models.
Or they wait till the end of their career where they're retired, or even after they passed away, someone writes a memoir and they're like, oh wow, good to know. I love that it's happening during our lifetimes. It's happening when they're still figuring their lives out, and it's like that vulnerability is really contagious because it inspires you in, like, even subconsciously you're not realizing it, but if you open yourself up to having those conversations like the way we're having it right now, like, we're helping ourselves and others, and it's just like such a positive exchange to talk about these things.
This is, for me though, it is that simple, but it's also not. Because at the same time, where we do have these powerful speakers, and we do have these people that we can look up to being their authentic selves and talking to us about their process of becoming, we're also oversaturated with so much perfection. Like, there's a lot of curated perfection.
It's intimidating. Because you're like, why don't I have my shit together like that?
Exactly. And you constantly, the battle between I'm trying to be my authentic self. I'm trying to be aware of who I am, what I want to do. I have to be me, true to myself. That battle, and then opening your phone and looking at what people are doing, your age, more accomplished than you.
You know, as soon as I start to feel that way with social media, I get off of it. I feel like that's the best thing you can do is to cleanse it. I think YouTube's different, for sure. But I think like Instagram is just meant to make you feel better.
So accessible,
and I think also being self-aware is so important. Like if you follow an account that they might be wonderful people, but if they make you feel negatively about yourself, unfollow it. Like remove it might not be them or the content that they're producing, but it's how it influences
how you're projecting.
you. We might remove that from your life.
Somebody else.
Remove that from your life until you're at a point where you're like, okay, I can look at this again and it not influence me.
I was listening to this thing about like how social media is also something that we're consuming. Like if you have a lactose intolerance, you don't drink milk. It's the same as that. If you're intolerant to having people shove perfection down your throat all the time, remove yourself away from it. Like, and it's okay to take a break from social media,
or just get off. Like, I meet people who are like, you know, one of the first questions you ask me, do you have Instagram? They're like, no, and I'm like,
you're awesome.
I have such
They must be so
They have to have a certain level of peace of mind that we don't have. And it sucks that we are talking about it like we know this is a thing.
It's like a drug, but you can't get off of it.
But honestly,
I
for me, it does give it. I feel like it is building certain good qualities within me because again, it forces me to be aware. Like, okay, this is making me feel some kind of way. Why is it making me feel some kind of way? And then being able to dig and say, okay, this is the source. Because it challenges you. It pushes you to face certain things that you avoid.
What other people are doing.
What is becoming to you? What is becoming to you?
I think what I said earlier about like leaving my job, I think for me, becoming to me is like finding my sense of purpose.
Okay.
I feel like right now I'm struggling with finding my sense of purpose. Before, like my sense of purpose was literally handed to me in like so many different ways, just like that being my 9-to-5 job. But like now I have to do it on my free time, and I have to educate myself on my own. But I feel a lot more empowered that way, and it feels more like authentic and real to me. I don't feel like I'm just faking it, like because at the end of the day you are getting paid to do it. So sometimes you question yourself, am I doing this because of it's my job or because I'm genuinely passionate or interested? So like now is I think the time for me to like come to terms with myself and like what I really care about.
Because if you're closed off as things are happening in your life, you're not going to learn and you're not going to grow, and that's something that I've had to deal with.
Hey, you gotta be
that's why
comfortable
it's like
being
put yourself out of your comfort zone and then just be like hyper aware of your surroundings so that you can just learn and be able to then have that influence the way that you reflect back into your world.
And you sorry.
For me, I don't know. It's just the journey of it, you know, taking the time to look around and be like, this is going on, the good, the bad, the ugly, the scary, all of it, and experiencing it in that moment. Because like, say you make a goal for yourself, you don't know if you're going to reach it, you don't know if you're going to surpass it, you don't even know what's going to go on, and if you don't appreciate what you're learning and going through in that moment and taking the time to like journal about it, like I feel like shit, or I'm so happy, like you don't really get to experience it.
Not just when you're sad, but especially when you're happy.
And that's hard because when you're happy, you're like in the moment, and when you're sad, you're in your feelings.
You're in your feelings and you're like angry.
About everything.
Be open and notice things when they're happening, and whatever that means for you, document it in the way you want to document it. Because there is a point where you are going to look back in your life and you're just going to be like, especially the 20s sometimes are a blur. I think of it as like in maybe increments of 3 years. It's like, okay, graduated 22, got my first job 24, went to get my master's 26. But what happened in between, I can't tell you. And I wish I knew more. Like just documenting the past 6 months of my life has made speaking about myself so much easier, and I'm so much more aware and able to connect with people because I'm like, I capture even the days and the moments.
I love the growth that comes with that, with just like pausing for a second and being like, this is happening. Like even being in this moment right here and talking with people that inspire me, that takes like, I need to pause.
It helps you to process.
Hold each other accountable.
And I think that documenting is so important because it forces you to focus on the effort that you put into something and the process and not
how you got there.
Because the result is completely out of your hands. There's so many other variables and factors.
You tell me that all the time.
It's like, I heard it somewhere, I don't remember where, but it was so powerful. It was like, focus on your effort in the process and not on the result. Because if you're like result heavy, you're always going to be disappointed.
Nothing's ever going to feel good enough.
Yeah, and then when you get there, you're like, oh, okay.
Or it accidentally happened to me. I didn't actually do that.
Yeah.
There's like, sometimes we think that things just happen to us.
Oh my God,
there's
so many times where things just fell into my lap. And then I'm like, this just happened to me. But
people put you on a pedestal for it?
Yeah, it's not even pedestal. Just opportunities came to me for whatever reason. But I have to remind myself that it came to me, one, for a reason, and two, I responded to it. I could have said no to a lot of opportunities in my life. But like, I think it took courage for me to say yes.
For sure.
And to like rise to the occasion. But I don't think I give myself that credit a lot of times. I literally have amnesia about certain moments in my life because I didn't process it.
And the other thing I think in that, you know, in that struggle is also how we were talking about how others perceive success, like how others may look on the outside into your success and be like, well, Rihanna's so this, she's so that, look at all the cool things she did, blah, blah. And in reality, you have to kind of, I think you have to speak things for what they really are. A lot of times people misinterpret life and
we do it to other people.
Like
I remember one time I was like with a friend and I was telling her, it's like, man, like you have this going for you, like, you know, like you bought this big beautiful house and all that, and then her response to me was like, look at you traveling and working. It's like the grass is always greener on the other side. Like you're never gonna have it all, and then you're always gonna look at the other person and be like, well, you're doing this and I'm not doing that.
I think it's just about fighting the idea of perfection and constantly having to be honest. And you have to be honest with the bad too. A lot of times we're so afraid to be like, actually, I'm really struggling right now. Things are really difficult right now. I feel unhappy. I don't know what I'm doing.
I think, but we also need to be more honest with people. I think we do have this like picture perfect shell. Like we complain about in others, but we do it all the time. We never want people to see us looking bad in any sense.
Right, no, that's true.
But you got to do that to make other people
feel more comfortable.
But
that's not, for me, that doesn't come from how others like may see me, but it comes from vulnerability. Like how, like vulnerability is
really hard.
So it's like, how vulnerable do I want to be right now? You know, like
I think for me, if you ask me, I'm straight up with you. Like I'll tell you everything that's going on.
Is that with people you know or with the public?
Well, if you want to ask anybody who wants to take the time to ask me, that's fine. But with the public, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not gonna put myself looking at my absolute worst because that's vulnerability, and I don't know. I don't know how to be like that sometimes.
But you know what I also think? Along with being vulnerable with people, that's a hard word to say. I think also not everybody deserves to see every part of you. So I'm not all about
that's interesting.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Like I'll be
struggle with that.
Like showing the people around me my true self, but I also don't need to share with the whole world.
I agree.
This is difficult for me.
I notice after I go through like a difficult time, I need to process it first. I give myself that time, but at some point I do owe it to myself and others to share how I did it, and then.
Why others?
I feel like I went through it for a reason. There's a spiritual aspect for me when I go through a struggle where I feel like, you know what, if I feel it in my soul that I want to speak on something, I could connect with someone I don't know even like at all, like not in my circle of friends or just speaking on something can really, like I believe in the power of connection. So I think if you speak up, even when it doesn't feel comfortable, when you're ready, you are doing a favor. You're doing it's like you're helping others, and I think that's for me enough that I will put myself out there.
It's really about the humanity of us. A lot of times we forget that despite we may be so different, we really are the same in our experiences. We're the same in the way that we struggle. We have feelings. We go through issues. We're happy, and a lot of times we use success as a measure of how different we are. Our socioeconomic status, like there's no way that this person can be similar to me at all. But in reality, like our humanity is that we go through issues just like everybody else.
And that's the part to me that's really beautiful. Just like that struggle, that taking the time and learning from it and experiencing it, like that's the realness, you know?
Right. Because becoming isn't finite. Becoming is you observing and being aware throughout the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever, and then taking that throughout your journey.
So the reason why I was saying it's really difficult for me to like present my worst self on some days and on other days it's really easy is because it takes a lot of honesty with myself. I have to really be at a high level of self-acceptance to be like, I don't care what I look like. I don't care what people are thinking. This is me. This is what I am. This is what I believe in. Like that's another level. And so in the process of becoming is also that self-acceptance, that honesty with myself. And
this is me.
Yeah, this is me. This is exactly where I want to be. Is that
exactly, yeah.
That's so funny.
Wait, what song is this?
I don't remember.
High
The
School
song's
Musical?
about-
Is it High School?
It is High School Musical. Oh my
Wow. That made an impact on a
Yeah, I
generation.
felt that.
That made an impact on the whole generation.
On this topic of like, you know, becoming isn't finite, what age when you were looking at your 20s? We're all in our 20s.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Different stages of
I'm 19.
We're always
You were
18 in our
like
soul.
I don't want to be a teenager.
I don't think I want to be 18 again, speaking of that. No, that was an
I'm grown
awkward
now.
time. Yeah, but I just wonder, like, all of you can answer this, like, what age did you think you were going to be grown? Like, when you looked at your life, you were 16.
24.
24. I don't know why. I was like, 2
I had
years,
no age.
graduated college. I should have my whole life
Yeah, I
together.
was like 24.
Married, a job, and with kids.
my God, at 24?
I do not know why.
That was like
I thought 24.
That's
yesterday.
insane, though.
That was
That's
yesterday.
Yeah, are you 25?
Yeah. I can't do that. No, I never had that. I never had.
I definitely thought I'd have it together by
No,
now.
but you
Similar
know
when it
what's
comes
funny?
to-
What's funny? I said
Yeah.
24, and then when I turned 22, I moved it to 26.
I see the story
Tossed the whole thing away. I was like, I'm 25.
I threw it away.
I didn't think I'd feel this way. Never telling anyone this part.
What's funny is like at your what birthday was it? We went to some restaurant in DC, and one of your friends who was way older,
That conversation with your friends sticks to me till this
in
day.
Barcelona.
They said
Oh,
they,
she just
they
turned
said they hit
30,
30 and they
yeah.
figured their
Yeah,
life out.
she was
waiting.
just like, you know, she went over every age, and she was like, at 26 I felt like this, at 28
She
I
must
felt
have
like
journaled.
this, and I was like,
remember.
Yeah.
girl, I was like, I'm ready for these ages.
I know,
But
I'm
wasn't
excited for
feeling-
30 because
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
I always thought 30 was
I
so
don't know.
old. Like, you should know everything
You guys
by
are doing
30.
the same thing that you just said. Like,
Oh.
why
I said
put an
it.
Why an age?
No, she didn't like she didn't put an
Expectations.
age in it. She was just showing the beauty of each age, and I'm just trying to absorb that.
Because I do think
Right. Get some of
age
that
is a good concept. You were telling me this yesterday. The concept of time is good because I
Yes.
think if we didn't have a concept
Yeah.
of time, we would just keep going in circles forever
Right.
and never
that's
grow.
interesting.
If you just like, I always have another chance. I could be 24 again next year and 24 again next
You
year.
need those
There is a
time.
push with time that can be
It's a
used in a
beneficial
good way
thing.
towards pushing us, not holding us back.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
yeah. So this is a good
So what's the
conversation.
This is
takeaway,
such
guys?
a
What do
good
we want to leave everyone with?
What is becoming to each of you? If you can summarize it, and I mean that's hard, but if you can like put it into one point, what would becoming
One
be
phrase.
for you?
Okay. For me, becoming is investing in yourself, and that means giving yourself time to be alone, time to do whatever it is you want to do. It's not really a concept other than just finding out what that means for you.
Okay. Becoming for me is a process of self-awareness. That's it.
Becoming for me is finding my sense of purpose. Something I'm actually passionate about.
I guess becoming to me is the journey, taking the time to look around and just absorb as much as you can.
I guess becoming to me is this is hard. Okay. Becoming to me is kind of releasing the expectations that I have of myself and allowing myself to be shaped by my context and
Shaped by
full
your
stop. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. We hope that this was an interesting conversation and we're really interested to know what becoming means to you. How has this topic or this just one word impacted the way that you think about kind of your personal growth? Please share with us. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. See ya.